Oh, welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I am Sarah Besloff.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Good.
I was trying to wait for you.
I appreciate it. Hey everyone, we're here doing tech good for another day. So Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I'd like to thank this season's sponsor, Auth0. They care about what I care about a lot, and that's identity. It's mine. I don't want anyone else to have it. And they provide a really great solution for custom, secure, and standards-based unified login as a service. They provide authentication and authorization. Go to auth0.com today to find out more.
Nice.
Sarah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad that my section is a lot easier. Subscribe to the show. Go to YouTube. Click the big button. Subscribe, and you'll get to see the live streams, ask questions, and generally enjoy our awesome comedy. Go ahead, Frederick.
Well said. With that being said, and without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get to our guest. We have Google developer expert, mentor, adjunct professor, published author, award-winning speaker, man, this keeps going on and on, unicorn rider, chief innovation officer at Infinite Red Inc., Gant Laborde. Welcome to the show, Gant.
Thank you,
Welcome.
thank you. I'll even forgive you for using the short version of my full title.
Yes, exactly. My faux pas. Please excuse.
No problem. No problem. I'm really happy to be here. I caught an episode and I was like, I've got to be on that show. It looks fun. So, bam, here we are.
Really appreciate that. Yeah, I remember you reaching out to me, and I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Nice.
No, you were like, who's this guy? I have no idea.
That's
who this
true.
is. Oh,
Wow.
That happens to me way more often than I actually would like to admit. I'm like, hey, everybody. They're like, hi, you. Like, oh,
Buddy.
buddy, be famous.
do people always want to call you Grant instead of Gant?
Constantly. Let me
Okay.
tell you this, all right?
Let's hear about it.
What the hell was my dad thinking? Like, what is a Gantt?
It's a
I
Gantt
don't
chart.
know.
It's a Gantt chart.
It's a chart. No, the chart has two T's. He had to pay by the letter, so it's just Gantt. We couldn't afford the R, so I grew up very poor. We just had 4 letters, and that was it. My dad claims that he named my sister Heather before Heather was cool. That great idea there.
Sure.
And my brother's name is Eric, which is very well known and very common. And then I got Gant. And I never got a good explanation on why that name is. But funny enough, it makes me extremely Googleable. So I could do no wrong. Otherwise, that will follow me forever.
It's apparent. It apparently means glove in old
In French. And
Yeah.
Laborde, which is my last name, means the edge. So am I the edge of the glove?
Oh,
In
maybe
French?
you're the edge of the glove, like a slap, like a
I
challenge.
don't know.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
immediately-
dude,
Yeah.
that is the best. That's the best yet. I'm taking
That is the
it.
best, but I
that
got
could
the
be a
image of
saying too.
Michael Jackson and the Edge from U2, like
Yeah,
mashed up. Like
There
that
you
could
go.
be a thing. That could be a thing.
that's
Yeah.
such the edge of the glove right there.
You could be like, I'm going Gant Laborde to him. Like, that could be it's a new thing. Like slap them with the edge of the glove.
In high school, I had a person. So my middle initial is G, and the guy who's sitting behind me goes, "Can you scoot over?" I was like, "Why?" And he says, "Because I Gant G Laborde," and he loved that joke.
Oh.
I heard it my entire freshman year. We're still friends somehow. I don't know why.
Yeah,
This is good sense of humor.
mine was always. Do you have any hints on that? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That was bad.
Sad. That was
So
really
Everybody's
I
always
get
got
now your sense of humor, Gant, and that kind of goes along with those funny images that you make, those stickers, right?
Yeah.
You riding a unicorn and etc.
Well, yeah,
he-
that sort of like iconography. I have a friend in Japan, and she would draw some of these really cool chibi style characters of me doing different things. And I actually have a sticker sheet. You'll have to hit me up with your addresses afterward. I'll send you some cool stickers like that, hologram
Yes,
stickers
please.
and cool stuff. And what the crazy part about it is she sent it to me, and then I, for some reason, in dev, everything's a sticker. So I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna turn this into a sticker. And I was a classic developer, terrible at marketing. I gave it to someone. They're like, why is your Twitter handle not on this? Like, it's just a sticker now. It has nothing to do with your identity. I was like, shut up. So now here we are. I want to say, wow, 6 years later, I have hundreds of crazy stickers of me, and they all, unless they're like a special exclusive brand, have my Twitter handle on them.
Nice.
What's the
And they're all
unicorn's
goofy.
name? That's what I want to know.
That is the unicorn of truth and science. It's why the unicorn's wearing safety goggles, because safety is top priority, and it has an atom on its chest for science.
All right, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I have a lot of science motif stuff. I'm a big fan of logic, science, sort of like people's awakening, things like that, and I think it kind of works into it. So I'm like, stand back, suckers! I'm going to use some science. That's how I start some talks. It's pretty dangerous.
These must be really
I saw
difficult
that.
times for you then, if you're really a fan
The
of
people, the
logic,
people who
truth, and science.
logic, truth, and science. So I actually, fun fact, I went to Speaker's Corner in London when I was senior, and there was this guy and he and I were arguing over this philosophical thing, because that's what you do at Speaker's Corner. And then he just kept doing a gish gallop on me. Like I couldn't ever win in this argument with him, because he would say some outrageous things. I was like, that's completely wrong. And so I would go into the basis of explaining basic science. And then this person came along, and he started his own argument right next to the other person, gathered all of that person's crowd, and then like made them all laugh and told a story. And that he didn't out logic the person, because the person didn't use logic into that argument. They went ahead and just sort of like made a showcase of it all. So as a sort of like a dedication to that lesson learned a long time ago, locally on nextdoor.com, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who
Best place.
who are not saying intelligent things by any regard. And I see all these people arguing with them, and I see the younger me. And so now I've taken on the identity of a troll on Nextdoor, where I take what they say and I agree with it, but then I take it to this utmost ridiculousness. And it's probably helped a lot of the mental health of quite a few people, because 2020 is not the year for faith in humanity.
Did y'all see the Palm Beach? I think it was like the city commission hearing when they talked about
yes,
the masks. Like I knew from the first line. The first line was, these masks, they're killing people. I'm like, wait, what? I knew from there on it was going to be great, and it was ridiculous. Well, so great in quotations.
Right. Yeah, they we used to have to watch Jerry Springer to see the real crazies kind of. I'm sorry if I'm, you know what? Guess what? I'm polarizing the crowd, right? Sorry, crazy people. But you used to have to watch like some really interesting things there. And fortunately enough, or unfortunately enough, now you just got to watch city council meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so
How's
ridiculous.
it been for you since you haven't been able to go out and do all these speaking events that you normally do?
Weird whiplash. I was originally going to speak at quite a few places, had to cancel. They've moved, or they kept pushing back. And I thought that this calendar year was going to be completely empty. And then now I've seen a resurgence of sort of like the breadth of humanity is to reach out and connect and talk with one another. And the very invention of this is all these online conferences. So now I've actually spoken at a huge number of online conferences. It's not as nice. I don't get to see people. I don't get to travel. I don't get to see new places. And I don't get to sort of build that deep connection like I really like. But it really is happy that there's this effort and people are working on this. And I've actually gone to more of these. So I've been speaking publicly a ridiculous amount at conferences because it's the virtual conf year. And I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Definitely makes it a lot more accessible for people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many people have paid attention to the of this group, the Apple stuff, but the keynote is pretty interesting to see it that way. And a lot of I've watched a few of the sessions. It's just nice because like literally anyone can watch them, and it's way more accessible. It's very different, weird world. I hope when things go back to whatever normal ends up being, that this type of awakening where, you know, things become more readily available continues.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we're going to have a lot of people with higher expectations of things such as working from home and being able to have these other amenities accessible.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've been remote working for 6 years now. And one of the great things about it is like, I've kind of realized we've come full circle. If you go back 200 or 300 years, people lived where they worked. Like it was like you had a blacksmith shop and you had where you slept, and you know, it's just sort of how things used to work. And there was a balance that was struck. Forcing everybody to go into one location and spin a certain cog was, you know, industrial revolution. And we've gotten all these advancements. We can work from anywhere in technology, and yet we still like force people to drive in these death boxes every day.
Death boxes.
I mean, to be fair, that's probably how most podcasts get listened to, is during a commute. You know, it's like a perfect time for that. But honestly, I love listening to them during lunch or other parts. And I work remote, so my commute is from the kitchen over there with a cup of coffee to right here. It's really nice. I'm never going back.
Yeah, same. Although I will say that I do. I mean, I don't worry about it, but I hear a lot of people, oh, I hate working remote and it sucks and this is terrible. And it's like, well, but I mean, this is working remote during a pandemic. Like, this is a different thing altogether. I mean, I feel stressed. I feel like I can't really concentrate. And I've worked remote also for about 6-7 years. So there's nothing normal about this. And if this is anyone listening, if this is like your first remote experience and it sucks, I promise you, it doesn't have to. It can be much better.
Yeah. And it has been really interesting too. I said this, I think, in a previous episode, seeing all the extroverts on Twitter complaining about, I wish I was surrounded by people. And it's like, because normally Twitter is the exact opposite. We're all like, God, I got to go into work, all these people. And now it's the exact, like, it's just interesting because, you know, I've always known that was a thing, but it's become so much more obvious now that, you know, people are like that they need to be surrounded by people and, to get their energy boost. It's interesting how.
And you're like that, right, Gant? Would you say you're fair to say you're an extrovert?
I am an introvert.
Really?
I am
okay.
I'm a sneaky introvert.
Sneaky.
So
Sneaky.
I actually, what I do, and I describe it this way, I'm an outgoing introvert. I stole that from our CEO, by the way. He said that first, but I think it sounds better on me. And I charge my battery, and then I burn hard for like 3 days. So when I go to conferences, you got all out, you know, and when I show up, I'm going to the after party. I'm talking to people in the hallway. I am connecting with everyone I can. I'm exchanging stickers, business cards, GitHub profiles, and code. And then as soon as it's done, I get on an airplane and I don't talk to a single soul. The person next to me can just talk to my face as much as they want. I am shut down. I go home. I probably spend the entire weekend not going out, not talking to another person. And then I feel like I'm back in balance. So weirdly enough, I've got like this extrovert battery I've worked on, and it works really, really well for me. But if you're around people for too long, you will, if you see it happen, I will Irish goodbye everybody and just disappear. Like, there's nothing I can do once the battery runs out.
I think people confuse the extrovert and introvert thing. It's, at least from what I've read a lot on the subject, that introvert, it just means that you recharge alone. It doesn't have to do with being shy. I think that's more of a
Right.
conception.
Yeah, I think I've heard that definition as well. Being in software, we're just. I've been told that a software extrovert is the one who looks at your shoes when he's talking to you instead of their own.
I like that.
That was
You've
joke.
not heard even somebody as Sarah just shouted out, "Whoa!" That's perfect.
So yeah, maybe we should talk about what you do. What do you do? Infinite Red. Tell us about it.
I was coming here to ask y'all.
You're the owner.
That's
From
right.
my understanding.
I'm one of the owners of Infinite Red. I started off working for them. I was the first employee, and it was consultancy. So, hey, small advertisement. Come on down to React Native at Infinite Red. We've got what you need. Okay, good. We actually, if you need anything done with React or React Native, we are experts. We talk to people at Facebook. We're very well connected. And I've been building mobile apps and websites for 20 years now. And I really, really, really fell in love with the Infinite Red community, the lifestyle, the philosophy, the planning, the care. And so I said, okay, I'm buying into this company. And they said, look, this is a great plan. So I saved up a bunch of money, bought in, and then so then I moved from there to the C-suite. And now in that position, I am Chief Innovation Officer, which basically makes me a glorified mad scientist.
Pretty much, when you always wanted to be a mad scientist, from my understanding as well. So
it's part of
life
the
goal
plan.
achieved. Yeah.
There's robots out front my door right now, just walking back and forth. That's all I can get them to do. I'm still working on my mad science.
It takes a while to really get the hang of it.
That's true. I'd need like a Tesla coil or something going on in the background.
Or Tesla himself.
Or Tesla. I will, yeah. I just need a shovel and some determination.
So tell me about the name of the company. Infinite Red, what does that mean?
So the Infinite Red was originally formed with Todd Worth and Ken Miller. It was a really, I think Todd's sort of like one of those domain buyers, right? Like he buys cool domain names. He's sort of a front end sort of design. So he started the company Infinite Red for consulting. It doesn't actually, as far as I know, have a deep philosophical meaning other than that's a pretty cool consulting name. Right? And then at the same time, ClearSight Consulting, which does have a title which says, something about it. Like we're this ClearSight consulting company in Portland. It was owned by Jamin Holmgren. And they were sort of competing for contracts. And at the time, I was a freelancer, kind of like I knew both of them. I introduced them to one another. Lo and behold, they did a merge in, I want to say like 2015 to form a single company under Infinite Red. And it's been a really cool adventure since. And to be honest, I've always been interested in forming my own business, but I don't know if everybody's kind of gone through this where you like, I'm going to start a business and you get business partners and then you're like, oh, I don't want to be in this business with them anymore. Well, this is the inverse of that, where I was like, I'm out of the business thing. I'm just going to kind of be my own consultant or W-2 for a while and figure out my own thing. And then I saw the Infinite Red sort of leadership. And I said, there's my business partners. And that's why I decided to buy in because there's people who I knew who would carry their own load. And they saw me and said, okay, we want you as part of this. So that was a really cool thing. And it's working out fantastic. I could tell you, there's a lot of really great opportunity out there, but I know this is where I'm going to do my life's work.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I started a business with my husband and I'm having second thoughts. Not so sure this was a good idea.
Well, he stuck you in the pantry.
He put me in the pantry and I don't know if he's pulling his own weight, to be honest with you, but no. But that's really awesome. Like that's something I've always wanted to do, and I've always, wanted to have my own business. I never knew really what it was. I always felt like I was more of an entrepreneur and not an entrepreneur. Like I didn't have like this amazing idea. And then my husband, who is really an awesome business partner, and I, we both love board games, and our collection get out of control, and we turned it into this thing, and it's such a cool thing. It's a lifestyle business. I don't ever see it making millions of dollars, but I love it. I really love it.
Lifestyle business is the real answer, in my opinion. There's all these people telling you want to be the multimillionaire. There's this classic story of the Harvard guy who goes on vacation, and he sees the fisherman gets a bunch of fish. He's got these extra fish, and he's sitting there playing the guitar. And then the Harvard businessman's like, "Wait, what are you doing? Like, there's plenty more fish here. You could go sell those fish." He's like, "Why would I sell the fish?" He's like, "Well, look, you sell the fish, and then you can go ahead and get more." He's like, "Well, I've got enough. I can eat. I'm happy. Everything's good." And he's like, no, you don't understand. Here's the cool part about it. When you get enough fish, then you could buy more ships and you could hire more staff.
Yeah, I've heard this.
And then those people can come in and they could do more fishing. And then eventually you get so much of this, 10, 15 years, you've got like a giant enterprise. And then you could have all these people working under you. And the guy's like, "Why do I want that?" He said, "Oh, because then you don't have to do any work. You could just sit back and eat fish and play your guitar on the beachfront, and you could just relax 20 years down the road, no problem."
20 years down.
Yeah. So like, I love this story because you can have your best life right now, the lifestyle business, and doing, classic thing in the day of your life.
I love that
philosophy. Yeah,
it is. Is there like a something that we could reference to that? Is that like a parable or something?
Yeah, I heard it as the Harvard business student and the fisherman, but it's probably, but I heard that story from a person who went to Harvard, so they might have purposely adjusted this. There's a few things, but I guarantee, as Brian caught it halfway through, you could probably find that parable.
I've heard it a few times. Yeah, the one I've heard is it's a Mexican fisherman and investment banker. Yeah, there's a bunch of different variants of it. It's an interesting story and absolutely true. Like, if you do find a job that you enjoy, like, that's not really working anymore. Like, it's just doing what you love, and
1,000%. It's a weird thing. We all say we want to do nothing, and it's the biggest lie. I really think that's.
I really do disagrees with you.
I'm happy to hear about it, but I can tell you this: if I had enough money to never work again tomorrow, I would keep doing the things I love.
Yeah.
And I mean, why would you ever stop? I mean, you could hanging out on the beach gets old. There's all this. I have a friend of mine. He tells a fantastic story about you ever watch? Like, y'all are all nerds, right? Never Ending Story.
Oh yeah.
We're actually just talking about that today.
Yeah, the nothing's coming to get you, right? Like the nothing's coming in.
Yeah.
And then he does this analogy where we're fighting the nothing today. He's like, you want to make all this money so you can do nothing. You want to get rid of responsibility so you can do nothing. You want to bury your head in the sand so you can know nothing. You want to take pills so you can feel nothing. And he's like, this is the real danger, and it's sitting right here, just like Never Ending Story. It's like, wow, that's so true. And a real craft, like, that's what makes me happy. I need to do something with these hands. I need to go ahead and fail at a project every day. Like, that's,
Purpose.
I need it. Yeah.
I don't know. Something about napping in a hammock sounds really good, though. With a book,
our CEO naps in a hammock whenever he wants to, but he still gets a lot of work done too. So it's a good combination. But eventually, every hammock gets uncomfortable.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like Happy and Sad. How do you know how you feel unless you have something to compare it against? I mean, this whole doing nothing all the time. It feels good to do nothing after I've done a lot over a sustained period of time. Then I'm like, I get to chill out now.
Yeah.
So sorry, Frederick. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
No
Well,
such thing.
speaking of your work, why don't we talk about what you do as a chief innovation officer? What exactly are you innovating day by day?
So, what technically one thing that's not really officially part of that title, I'd say, but is definitely part of what I do, is marketing. Marketing, sort of that the dark art of science there, and I think it's one of the most interesting sciences. And so, one of the things I'm doing for the company now is I'm studying part of our marketing initiative and innovating on that because it's something that we really need. Also, on our technology, I love going to a conference, hearing about what kind of technology is coming out, what people are using, and then bringing that back. Because when you work with the same people for a long time, it becomes real easy to keep copying, pasting the same solutions, regardless of the world around you. And you can you need somebody to kind of go out there and say, by the way, this is what this community is really about right now, and this is a big movement. Maybe we should check into that. And especially
People
with
help us grow.
consulting, you have to watch it. What's that?
People help us grow.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the innovation part of it is that our chief technology officer is Jamin, and so he's making sure the team is all rowing in the right direction. There's sort of like we're all using the same technology. Our communication is excellent. And then I'm a little bit more of the person who's going out and about and collecting knowledge and clients and information and bringing them back for sales and for our growth. And that's really fun for me because is like being an introvert. I still love hearing a great talk and talking to people and meeting people and having a lot of fun. So like this is fantastic. Like I said, I could do this for up to 3 days. So, but this is great for me. And getting that information is just part of I think it's part of a process that every company needs. Maybe I'm a little bit of developer advocate too. I guess you can throw that in there.
I was gonna say that's what it sounded like when you're like, oh,
It's
I
a
go to
little
conferences
developer
and-
advocate.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of that because we don't have a product per se for bringing people into, but for coming in saying, and then like I said, if anybody wants some of the best, we throw the React Native conference in the US, and Facebook attends and makes announcements there. So that was a really cool thing that we do. So if you want React Native, come talk to us. That's a really great thing, and it helps pay the bills. And I promise you, I'm bringing the best new information to the team. That and robots.
What's some of the best new information? What's going on? Tell us.
AI is the future, dude. I know it scares the hell out of people when I say that. They think of 1980s movies. They're like, whatever. I tried one time to program tic-tac-toe and I shoved my face in the toilet instead. It was directions unclear. Yeah. But this sounds like a great story. We'll have to circle back. But it's I've been being a little bit of an AI drum for about a year and a half now. And it's just getting more and more true. As a developer, if you're not already like having AI in a product, or if it's not already some part of it, that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, in the next 5 years, go ahead and quote me on this, come back. We're going to have some serious groundbreaking AI to the point where you will have interacted with a person on the phone and you don't even know. You're like, you hang up and you go, I wonder if that was a real person. Could have not been. And
I saw that Google, sorry to interject, but I saw that thing on Google where they literally had that. Do you remember that at the Google conference?
I didn't see that one in particular, but that sounds like something Google would do.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, they had with their assistant. You probably saw this too, Brian, where they were making a call and they were like, "Oh, okay, this person's going to call a barbershop," and okay, yeah.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
It still sounded a little artificial, but yeah.
Oh, but dude, I mean, on the phone, if you didn't know, you would totally go, "Oh, okay, I'm talking to a human being."
Yeah, and we're getting so far beyond that now, where it can mimic certain voices. It could be like you went ahead and made that call from just a couple of seconds of a clip. It can actually sort of customize towards your common verbiage and a bunch of other things. GPT-3 just came out, so the crazy stuff that I used to show people in my talks a year ago. I was like, this just came out. Now people are like, oh, of course, like, I mean, for instance, right now, if I just like all of a sudden needed to turn into a cat head or something like that, I could kind of do this. And this would weird people out a while ago. But now it's just like, okay.
Yeah, it's that Snapchat thing.
I don't know if I agree with it. It's
It was
okay,
like
but okay.
horrible, like robot upspeak right there. That was
You
terrible.
didn't like my auto-tune?
I loved it.
Okay, no
I thought it was
auto-tune for you.
appropriate.
All right, we're just gonna go for. Hold on, let me just. All right, we got him here. Go ahead and get the auto tune out of here. This guy doesn't. Not allowed.
No.
Perfect.
That's Sarah's favorite one.
Yeah.
What do you think about with AI though, and it not being? I think like one issue we have is it not being like regulated whatsoever, and know like what is appropriate, what is not, especially data.
Yep. Well, the ethics. So one thing I really think is part of the reason I really kind of beat this drum is democratized AI will be talked about Tesla a little while ago. Tesla came up with ideas of sharing electricity for free with entire neighborhoods, and people were like, well, how do we charge for it? And they were like, oh, it's going to be really hard to choose how much to charge. Like, oh, we'll shut this down. And AI, as Andrew Ng says, is the new electricity. And with electricity, if we can have great inventions, you can warm your food, you can help your family, you can read at night. But then again, people like Thomason were using it to electrocute elephants at circuses to try to show it's who's. Yeah, it could be disgusting in the wrong hands. And that's why a Fortune 500 having the patents and the data and the capabilities, the only people having this, then we sort of lose this democratized AI to the ability of being able to defend against it. And I think that one of the things I partially my advocate for it is half of it, this is coming, be ready for it. And the other half of it is like, cool people who are willing to have chats about these things and actually ask the questions about ethics and go after the people who are, trying to identify protesters and kind of go and put them on. We can't be asleep to what's possible and what's happening. I'm not sure that the legality of it is going to stop people. I think people are going to stop it because Clearview AI has received cease and desist letter after cease and desist letter, and they just continue on. What really needs to happen is, to a large degree, is we need to actually identify what are the characteristics here, how we can defend. There's specific like face masks that mess up the AI, shirts that mess it up. There's really cool things that we can do to really push the boundaries together, rather than just putting it in a couple's hands and saying, we trust you ethically. Good luck.
It's been crazy, some of the stuff I've read about like data and how there's been talks about our data. Basically, we would get paid for our information being able to be used, and it's almost Black Mirror-esque. We're like, oh well, I have 500 credits because I shared what I ate for the last year. Like, oh, so weird.
Yeah, it is the oil it's the new oil for this machine. Yeah, and it's a wild world of. I do think that we are seeing some awesome change. If you take a look, I believe it was Microsoft was trying to sell a service to law enforcement, and they kind of got called out because people understand the technology, understand what's happening, and then a lot of companies have said, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. But if you don't know what's capable or what's happening or what facial recognition is and the terminology, what's going on with deep learning, or like exactly how people are using your data, it's very hard to defend against. And so I'd say, like, we're going to see AI happen. Get your chunk of it now, because you don't want other people to just be like, okay, thanks. And by the way, bring the laws. No one's allowed to have any of this data but us. Like, then they're the only ones who will be making the algorithms that are going to control what's happening.
saw the pinnacle of this kind of evil that might be happening in the future. If you look, you actually created a Nicolas Cage face recognizer, and I think that really illustrates how somebody could, how this is put in the wrong hands of somebody like yourself.
It's important though. This was a very ethical decision here. Is that I created a declaration of independence thief.com. And then in there, uploaded a model that goes to that's powering nickornot.com, which answers that age-old question: is Nicholas in a photo or not? And that's very, very kind of key problem, because I don't know how many times you've had the Declaration of Independence stolen from you.
Several.
But now it's a common problem. It's quite difficult. So now you have a website that you could just upload photos or click on photos, and then it can find Nicolas Cage for you. All joking aside, that technology is available. Anybody can actually write facial recognition. We're well beyond. I think we're in the world of how people can use it, as well as what are we going to do? Because I can tell you, facial recognition can be used for amazing things. We had a client who wanted to help curate information to send emails rather than send photos of everybody's kid. It just sends you photos of your kid. It's like, oh, that's super awesome. And it's a great thing. So you don't have to look at other people's kids. You just get this, hey, little Johnny was playing on the swing set today. And it's really facial recognition. Every time you pause a movie and it's like, these actors were in this scene, it's kind of nice. And I think that there's some really cool applications to this, but it's a tool. And like I said, in the wrong hands, it can be a very evil tool.
We could have bounty hunter robots out there just prowling around.
Yeah.
Where is Brian Hinton?
Right here.
Right.
Shut up, they're gonna get you.
I ordered the pizza.
Oh yeah, I could be that. Deliver Brian Hinton the pizza.
Yeah, exactly. It could really help out in some aspects, but if you want to actually ever get into a long conversation about AI, I really enjoy talking about it. And if you ever talk a lot about AI ethics, I could talk about it a bit. It's a little scary. It can get a little bit worrisome, but my angle on it, and I'm just going to skip to the end of what I would say anyway, is that, people are afraid, and we measure everything in jobs. Okay, this many jobs. We're not talking about people. We're not talking about quality of life. We talk about jobs. This creates this many or something like that. And the strange thing that happens is we are continuing to automate, and we are continuing to add people to this planet, which to the inevitable conclusion that we need to raise the lifestyle of everybody who's involved. And I think that's the really cool part, is that AI can take care of the dangerous and terrible tasks that human beings shouldn't have to do, and we can all live better because of it. I was giving a talk about AI in Seattle, and I was watching this gentleman climb up a ladder and and just, I know he's got a family, and what happens is like this ladder's like creaking and falling back and forth. I was like, that's what I want a robot to do. If you've ever worked in a service industry and had inventory night where you're until 1 o'clock, it just drives you nuts. That's something AI should be doing. We should be focusing on our humanity and the cool things and enriching all of our lives. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
Let me ask you a user question here. We have Todd Libby is writing in, and he's asking to get your opinion on something. He says, what does Grant think about the example?
You did it.
Did I say Grant? Excuse me.
You just blame it on Todd Libby.
Yeah, I will. What does Gant? Dang. Yeah. Well, I took my glasses off because I'm trying to read, so all the letters scrambled.
We're so old. Oh my God.
Right. I'm only 28 in my eyes. Example. Let me get to the question here, because this is important. Because it's a user. Example. What does Gant think about how Twitter takes, for instance, pixelized face of Obama and then uses AI to turn it into a clear version of some white guy?
So
It's just
Twitter
bad
did
AI.
this?
No, it was on Twitter. There was
It was
a,
on Twitter. Okay,
there
yeah.
was
So you're
a
talking about
yeah.
information bias.
yeah.
So the,
Yes.
the data bias, yeah. So here's a really terrible thing that AI has sort of unearthed. For forever, we've been using standards that are fitting under this sort of archaic mentality. I think like the Kodak algorithm was geared and engineered chemically to work specifically on photos of white people. And we've to continue on those lines of those numbers, and saying this is the best way to get a photo. We just like move it over from chemical to digital, and we're seeing this underneath the surface disgustingness that sort of like comes out like that. And when you train an algorithm with, so let's say if I was doing paper rock scissors, and I say I'm gonna do a paper rock scissors game for everybody, and I just take, well, first of all, at old white dude hands, and that's it, right? We're also looking at however I do paper, rock, and scissors. Maybe I do scissors like this or like this. You know, there's going to be some information bias, and I think that it is on the people who are building this. It's very important. It's very important that we unearth this bias and we start creating ways to detect common problems and bias and immediately start taking care of those. And I want to salute companies that have done a fantastic job at saying, you know what, this is a problem. We're going to help the community out. IBM released a diverse faces data set with like, I want to say 50,000 anonymized faces. What a great way to give back. A large company giving back data that they've paid tons of money for and collected, so that way people can create a much better diverse face recognition or face identifying for whatever it's going to be, whatever the algorithm needs to be, not just limiting it to whatever the old data sets that we have, and actually caring about the bias of the information. All information has bias. All information has bias. What biases are we okay with? And in the sense of turning all people into white people, we're not okay with that. And I'm glad that this has surfaced. I'm glad that we're going to say that's not okay. Go back, fix this, go adjust it. And then the companies give back to the community by saying we've done our homework, made sure that we data set, and then we're getting to you. That makes my heart happy. You see the same thing happen from data scientists at Microsoft. They had open maps with all these different 14 years of labor of people like drawing building keys on OpenStreetMap. And then they used that data to train an algorithm satellite footage in over 125 million building footprints, open source the code. So
Wow.
that's what I want to see. I want to see the big companies giving back. And I really appreciate it whenever people do.
I will say, when you say like 50,000, I know they're anonymous data sets of people's faces, and then like talking about facial recognition and everything, I'm like, I get really anxious. I'm like, oh my God, they are watching us. They're getting all our faces. It does make me anxious. I know a lot of people that it does. It's going to be an interesting future we have, kind of making that stuff comfortable for people, but also making it, ethical. It's going to be a
Wait
challenge.
until Apple Glass hits.
Yeah, I do really wonder if they really are making something like that and how that would, work and interface with all of this stuff.
Imagine just walking down the street and you don't even recognize somebody, but you know their name. Oh, it shows up. That's Brian Hinton.
Oh God, go away!
The guy that fell out of a tree when he was a kid.
I did. Hit a lot of branches, but not the chain link fence.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I will say it's okay to be anxious on that. But at the same time, we have the capability to identify cancer and the world's best doctor, right? To a certain degree, like there's some of this information, it's wrong to hold back. It's wrong to, I understand this.
Yeah.
These are disruptors for industries the same way, like Netflix caused a big old problem for Blockbuster, but nobody's like really shedding as much of a tear for Blockbuster, and we all have Netflix, right? So
Hey,
you're the person. We found it.
I miss
Brian?
I miss Blockbuster so much. Like,
Do you?
yeah, because there's something tangible and tactile about going in and picking up that movie box and flipping it over and reading about it, and it was easier to choose, I will say, than Netflix, where it's like there's so many choices as opposed to like a smaller curated
Brian,
collection.
let me bring you back to a day where you said, "Oh, I can't wait." Up, flip it over, and that movie is not there. And then you got to get back in your car and drive to another Blockbuster, and you go talk to the person, and there's some kid behind the desk who's just his whole job is to make sure people don't steal these things. And he's rewinding all those tapes that no one ever rewound. He's like, I hate my life.
No, I didn't.
Be
No,
kind.
this is the experience. I would call the local home video, was the local rental video store, and be like, "Hey, do you have this video in?" "No, we're getting it in tomorrow." "Great, they'll save it." I go get it.
Okay.
It was nice. It was very personal. But on all that note, we can still go to the library and check out movies. People may not know this, but you can get out tons of movies and new releases available. All you need is a library card. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. So don't forget that, people. And on that note, we're getting kind of close to the end, and we have a round called Lightning Round we'd like to go through. And if you two okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and what this is we ask you a question, each of us, and you answer it, and then we move on to the next question, quick and fast. Frederick, do you want to go first?
Sure. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
I would have to say, it's funny because I don't watch it at all anymore. The Simpsons. As a kid, for some reason, I loved The Simpsons. It just spoke to me. My parents would watch it as well, so it was kind of a little bit of a bonding experience. And I know they're still making episodes. No, they are. Funny being from New Orleans, I remember them completely insulting the hell out of us. And then they did another episode, I want to say 2 years ago, where they said New Orleans is great. So I guess they made up for it. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with The Simpsons. Weirdly enough, I know that the humor wasn't like as fun or as action packed, but it really kind of molded me. And they were ridiculously creative of episodes.
Yeah, I don't think you get the lightning aspect of this.
Okay, I just say one word.
It was good, but just short answers.
A little bit shorter.
Failed
I'm
there.
just,
We just were like, we're gonna let you keep going.
Sarah, go ahead, Sarah.
You all have important things to do. I apologize.
No. We have a ton
All
of
right.
questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, gotcha.
Frederick's beard. Yes or no? All
My
right.
quarantine beard. His name is Steve.
Yeah. Okay, you're in the circus, Gant. Would you rather be the person with their head inside the lion's mouth or get shot out of the cannon?
Out of the cannon.
Oh, all right. Frederick?
Sarah, my beard, yes or no?
That's you can't ask Sarah.
No. You look like I just
No.
texted Brian a while ago. You look like an extra from the Old Testament. All right, moving on.
He looks like somebody would answer all these questions.
Oh, I
Love
guess
it.
that was Frederick's question. Go, Sarah.
I guess it was. Go ahead. I'll
right.
let you go next.
Brian's hat. Yes or no?
Not even a hat.
Man, you were just too nice. Can't. Too nice.
no, this is great.
Exactly.
Where do you mind not waiting?
Drive-throughs.
All right.
Any drive-through.
Frederick?
Gant, if you could not be around a computer for the rest of your life, what would you do professionally?
Woodworking.
Sweet.
Excellent. Sarah?
Sorry.
Wow. Have you ever made one of those? Oh my God, I love to wood shop. So have you ever made one of those wood piggy banks, or like you make like a bank and then there's like plexiglass and you can put the coin in and see the money go in?
Don't say yes. She's going to want you to make it.
in woodworking. Like,
No, I have not.
really?
No.
Okay.
What chore do you absolutely hate doing? Like hate doing?
Oh, oh wow. Oh, you know what? Anything that requires me working on the car. Some reason I hate car maintenance. Don't know why.
Makes sense.
And what would you say that your rating of Building Design Systems by Sarah Veselov, the book, from a scale to,
Well,
I don't know, 11 to 12, what 12 being the highest, what would you say is your view of this book?
11.
11? Okay, fair enough. Sarah?
Unbelievable. You're just unbelievable, Frederick. All right.
I believe me. Sarah?
Favorite. Wait, first concert you ever went to?
Pearl Jam.
Nice.
I was
What's
hoping for something embarrassing. Okay.
What's one pet peeve of yours that you wish that you could get rid of it because it hampers your entire enjoyment of life?
Besides
I
Brian.
can't stand the sound of like people who smack or like make weird noises sometimes or breathe. If I can hear someone breathing and they're next to me, ruins my entire day. I just want to turn to them and say, please stop breathing.
Okay.
Agreed. Gant,
ASMR is weird.
Gant, you come home. It's late at night, like late at night. It is
Yeah.
dark. It is raining. It's pouring out. You're like, I just want to get in the house. You open the door, you shut the door, and you look, and there's a ghost. What do you do?
Turn on the light and hang out.
All
Well
right.
said. Sarah?
All right, before I ask my question, I just have to say that my first husband used to blink really loud and we'd constantly get into fights about it. I
How
mean,
do you
like,
blink loud?
you could hear like
What
the
the heck?
wetness of his
No.
eyelids touching each other.
Oh, you just
Oh,
grossed me
horrible.
out.
Horrible.
Ugh.
Thus,
Game over.
Ugh.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It-
Okay.
Alright.
That or putting the toilet paper the wrong way. Just instant
Yes.
divorce.
Yeah,
Oh,
no
yeah.
blinking
How would you
allowed.
do that?
No blinking.
It's
Oh my
beard, not mullet.
favorite movie as a teenager?
Oh,
Not now, as a
Billy
teenager.
Madison.
That's legit.
As a matter of fact, I probably can quote the entire movie from memory still.
I'm from Boston, so that was a good call. Good call.
If Mars was livable, would you accept a one-way ticket there right now?
No, I'm anti. I don't get the space stuff nearly as much as other nerds do. I don't know why.
All right.
Do you play an
Huh?
instrument?
I play guitar. Yeah,
Are you good at math?
I am now. I was terrible at math for a majority of my life because I hated it because it had to do with nothing. Now I constantly study it because it has to do with everything.
With everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite fairy tale growing up?
I grew up on HBO, so Phantasm, Freddy Krueger.
That works.
Right.
And seriously, what is one of your favorite things about yourself? Not sarcastically, honestly.
I would say that I have better than normal memory, and I can memorize about 20 random objects, no problem. Don't need grocery lists, anything like that. It is a blessing and a curse. Did I already say that?
Well done.
Oh my god. Ugh. Okay. Let's see.
Link.
Oh god, stop. Now I'm gonna think about it. I'm just hearing it. I'm gonna keep
Love it.
It was
Blink.
so hard.
The wet sounds of eyes. So gross. So gross.
The fact that I still think about it, like, what is it now? 20 years later? Just awful.
I need to hear
never
more
meet
about
this
this
person.
offline. Yeah, I need a blog post or something.
This is the same
Yeah.
husband I slapped in the face with a flip flop, but that's another story.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Anyway, all right, so you're in Louisiana. Name
Yep.
2 other states that you've either lived in or visited in that you really like.
I visited, or I lived in Houston for about 8 months after Hurricane. and I really liked them, and they were very welcoming. It was fantastic. I forever appreciate and will always donate to Houston if they have any problems because of how welcoming they were. And I also love Portland, Oregon. It's just a really fun place, and I like going there.
Okay, my last question. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
Because then it becomes a foot.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, high five, high five. Yes.
Sarah's just sitting there with
There's my 5.
splish
I mean, my
splashy
1.
wings.
Wow, explicit. I'm out of questions. Sarah, you got any questions?
I got none.
Okay, so why don't we, before we jump to the last 2 questions that we asked, make sure, Gant, you grab your guitar so we could do the playoff as we talked
You want
about.
me to?
Yes,
you
please.
Wait.
Yeah.
What is this playoff that we talked about?
Yeah, we discussed it thoroughly. I'm sure I don't understand why you don't remember since you talked about your memory being so good, but go ahead and grab your guitar real quick.
Seriously getting in my guitar? Okay.
You don't really need to. Oh, okay. I guess he is.
Brian, shut up, Brian.
So you, while he's doing that, you really like the idea of a running app that you can just run with someone like that.
Brian and I were on Twitter talking about how you could be on an app and where you both could be running at the same time and having a conversation to help inspire each other while you're running. I think it's a great idea, and also keeps track and does all the other things like a running app, a health app would do. I think it's a great idea, Brian.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, hey, Gant's back. All right,
You
Gant.
said Pearl Jam, I think.
He did say Pearl Jam. Yeah, he said he's going to do even flow. So Gant, so the first off, one of the questions we always ask people is, what's the best way people could find out more about you? Obviously, we're going to include all these things within the show notes, but where do they go? What's your Twitter handle? What's your website? And anything else?
Yes, indeed. GantLaborde.com. Fortunate enough, apparently that was still available. Not sure why. So there, and my Twitter handle is Gant Laborde as well. And definitely watch all the mad scientist stuff that I'm coming up with and see where I'm going to be speaking next. I'm giving a talk on Saturday morning, and then I have my next one at Amplified Days on July 15th. Yeah, I do like to give a lot of talks. Come see me do crazy stuff with AI. I promise you it.
Nice. And the last main question, Gant, we'd like to provide a opportunity for you to say any kind of farewells, any final words to the audience.
Oh, well, just gotta say thanks for all the amazing support from the people at Infinite Red, paying to send me to conferences, take care of everything, put up with the crazy inventions and fun stuff that I want to do, and they've never ever held back from letting me do that. So it's a really friendly place. I want to say thanks to them.
Excellent. Anybody else have any final questions before Gant plays us off?
Nope. Thanks for joining us. That's playing us out. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's not another hour, right? I think you're playing for, right?
Another hour. Well, it's a long song. It's at least 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Gant, yeah, honestly, thank you so much. Really appreciate you spending some time with us. And Gant, go ahead and play us off.
Sure. It's out of tune. I didn't tune the guitar. Oh, well, that's just what you get. That was the end of it. The end.
Really good. Perfect performance.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Gant. Really appreciate it. Everybody, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time and take care. Bye.